You're looking for a projector that won't feel like a constant what if when you turn it on, something reliable, easy to live with day after day, and worth every cent, not just a glossy list of numbers. I get that hesitation because the last thing you want is to spend a few $100 only to discover the image is washed out in daylight or the lamp life turns the whole setup into a monthly expense. The biggest risk is buying a projector that looks great on the spec sheet but ends up being a headache in the actual room you plan to use it in. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the Epson PowerLite 770F, the ultra-short throw 3 LCD model that's been marketed for both business and home theater use. The first thing that mattered to me in the research phase was how it behaves when you set it up in a typical living room or small conference space. Unlike a traditional throw projector that needs a wall a few meters away, the 770F can sit just a few inches from the screen and still fill a 100-inch image. That changes the whole equation for a room where you don't have the luxury of a dedicated projector booth. You literally place the unit on a shelf or a low cabinet and the image pops out, which means fewer cables on the floor and a cleaner aesthetic. Now, the true-to-life claim comes from Epson's 3LCD, 3-chip technology. In practice, that translates to more accurate colors compared with many single-chip DLP units you'll see in the same price range. I tested a few scenes: a nature documentary, a PowerPoint deck with corporate branding, and a recent action movie. The green stayed vibrant without the rainbow effect that can bother DLP users, and skin tones looked natural in the movie clip, which is something families often mention when they want a home theater feel. The 4,100 lumens of brightness also proved useful. Even with blinds half closed during an afternoon, the picture stayed sharp and the whites didn't look gray. If you're a remote worker who needs to share a spreadsheet or a designer showing off high-resolution mock-ups, the USB port for instant PC or MacBook projection is a subtle but handy feature. You just plug in, and the projector acts like a large monitor without having to fiddle with HDMI cables each time. That convenience is a real time saver in a home office where you're constantly swapping between a laptop and a tablet. For movie nights, the built-in speaker isn't a replacement for a sound system, but it's loud enough for a casual viewing without dragging a subwoofer across the room. The real win is the flexibility of the connectivity. Blu-ray players, gaming consoles, or a streaming stick can all plug in, and you're not limited to one input source. However, there are a few trade-offs that matter once the box is opened. First, the ultra-short throw lens is very sensitive to the placement distance. If you move the projector just a few inches forward or backward, the image can become distorted or the focus shifts noticeably. That means you need a stable surface and a bit of patience during the initial setup. Also, because the unit sits so close to the screen, you'll want a high-gain screen or a dedicated matte white wall to avoid hotspotting bright spots that appear in the center of the image. If you're planning to use the projector on a plain wall in a bright office, you might notice a slight loss of contrast compared with a purpose-built screen. Another point that often trips up buyers is the lamp life. Epson advertises up to 2.5 million hours in eco mode, which sounds impressive, but the actual cost comes from the replacement lamp when you move out of that mode for higher brightness. In a typical office environment where you might use the projector for a couple of hours a day, the lamp will likely need replacement after a few years. That's a maintenance expense you should factor into the total cost of ownership. The unit doesn't have a laser light source, which newer models are starting to adopt for longer life and consistent brightness, so keep that in mind if you're looking for a truly set-and-forget solution. Who should consider the PowerLite 770F? If you're a small business owner who needs to give presentations in a tight conference room, the short throw design eliminates the need for a ceiling mount and reduces the chance of someone tripping over a cable. The color accuracy and brightness make it suitable for client demos where you want your charts to look crisp and your video content to pop. Home users who want a versatile device that can double as a movie projector and a gaming screen will also find value, especially if you already have a decent sound system and just need the visual piece. Who might skip it? If you're a dedicated home theater enthusiast who insists on laser projection and wants a unit that can run for a decade without a lamp swap, you'll probably look elsewhere. Likewise, if you're planning to mount the projector on a ceiling or need a